Hey everyone, per your requests, I'm starting Soul Land 5, the Rebirth of Tang San. This will be the final part of Soul Land 5. Thank you for accompanying me on this journey. If possible, you can support me via PayPal or become a channel member to help me keep this channel running. Thank you. Now let's get back to the story of Soul Land 5, the Rebirth of Tang San audio series. Chapter 1181 Decree. Behind Tang San's body was shining, and two beams of white light were shot out to envelop their bodies, and the two emperors disappeared at the same time. If there were two fewer emperors, there would be only three remaining: Immortal, Swordmaster, and Liuli. The immortal demon emperor said in a deep voice, "What else do you want?" Tang San shook his head lightly and said, "Enough is enough. In a few days we will leave this plane. But before that, I have some things to explain clearly. As the lord of the ancestral family, I will issue a decree now." As soon as these words came out, the faces of the remaining three emperors showed solemn expressions, and the entire fairy continent seemed to be colored by invisible forces. This is the power of those who control the ancestral court after stepping into the sky. Follow the law and make the rules. From now on, I hope that the monsters and spirits will coexist peacefully with humans and not be harmed. As soon as these words came out, the golden light in the ancestral courtyard flickered, quickly turning into a circle of golden halo and expanding, spreading away in a distant direction. Tang San brought Xiao Wu down slowly, and came in front of the immortal demon king. The immortal demon emperor's face was solemn. He could already feel that Tang San and Xiao Wu were no longer controlled by this plane. Why did the suppression of the plane disappear? Because the plane faces their fear. The sword light fell just now, not only killed the Skyfox demon emperor, but also made Phalanxing's entire plane feel the threat of death. Therefore, no matter what the two in front of them do, the entire plane of FA launching will not stop it, nor can it stop it. Tang San looked at the great immortal demon emperor with scorching eyes and said, "Phalan Star has extremely abundant resources. Today, I slaughtered all the emperors and stepped into the sky. I must be very angry. However, I know that doing this is not only for humans but also for the elves." The immortal demon emperor narrowed his eyes slightly. What do you mean? He understood that Tang San didn't need to lie to deceive each other at this time. Tang Sandao. The Skyfox clan's control of luck has certainly gathered a huge power of luck for the fairy continent, allowing the resources of the entire plane to sublimate in the fairy continent, thus giving birth to so many emperors. But it is also because in this way more misfortune spreads across the rest of the planet, causing a great imbalance in the plane. Once it erupts, it must be devastating. Today I will kill all the emperors in the Tianhu clan, and it should be able to greatly. This impact has been alleviated. However, the changes in the luck of the plane have solidified, so I am afraid that there will be another catastrophe in the fairy continent in the future. I hope that after we leave, you can reconcile the changes in luck as much as possible. More, I hope that your majesty can lead the monsters and spirits to be friendly with our human race. I will leave a bag for the human race and help the fairy continent as much as possible in the future to resolve this catastrophe. The immortal demon emperor said in a deep voice. Can you see when the disaster will come? But Tang San shook his head. With a flash of light in his hand, the Book of All Laws had already fallen into his palm. I can't, but it can get a glimpse of it. Apart from rubbings, this Book of All Laws also has prophecies and words. Ability, I will leave it in the hands of human beings. If there is a catastrophe coming in the future, it will enlighten me. The immortal demon emperor was a little silent, and suddenly he asked, "Will you come back after you leave?" Tang San said thoughtfully, "If FA launching is just like this, I don't think we will come back again. But if FA launching can complete the evolution, then maybe in the future we will become our allies in the God realm. Back then, in order to achieve the king level and not be suppressed by the plane, I have promised the master of the plane that in the future, our descendants will come to Phalan Star to help the plane evolve. This is why I will remind your majesty to the reason for being friendly to my human race as much as possible. Only the creativity of the human race can lead Phalanxing to become a true god realm." The immortal demon king suddenly smiled bitterly and said, "I also kind of want to leave with you, regardless of all the chaos. I wonder if it is possible." Tang San smiled and shook his head. There has been such a big change in the ancestral court. If there is no mainstay sitting in the center, the fairy continent will be in chaos. Don't wait for the catastrophe to come. the fairy continent itself will be in disaster. Only Mion you can deter all directions. And with the power of nirvana and rebirth, your lifespan is still sufficient. I have just perceived some futures. Within 300 years, the person I mentioned will appear, and your majesty can afford to wait. If we can lead Phelan Star to evolve into the god realm, we will have another day to meet again, and at that time, your majesty will also become the founding deity of Phelan god realm. The eyes of the immortal demon king shone brightly. The human race has you, it really is. Tang San sighed lightly and said, even if it is a god, it also has the troubles of a god. Otherwise, I would not have come here. There is an old saying that it is not very peaceful, and there is another saying that it is called extreme joy begets sorrow. In the vast universe, even if it's us, why not just a drop in the ocean? Speaking of this, his eyes became extraordinarily bright. But in order to pursue that ray of life, no matter what the laws of the universe are, we must seize every opportunity to survive. This rebirth is a great deal for me, and for my wife it was also a process of calamity, and it also made me think about a lot of things. There are still many things waiting for us to do, and all of these are missions that we must complete. The immortal demon emperor's heart trembled slightly. He understood that what Tang San said and thought were things that he was far from being able to touch at his current level. Tang San turned his eyes back to the face of the immortal demon emperor, and said in a deep voice, Your Majesty, guard this plane well, guard it until it reaches the god realm. You reading book www.com at that time? I will come back that if FA launching can achieve the god realm, then it will be crucial to our future, and perhaps the most important step in our true eternal life. The immortal demon emperor nodded slightly. Okay, then I will wait for you for 300 years. Tang San raised his hand, and it landed on the shoulder of the immortal demon emperor. The immortal demon emperor did not move. The next moment, a golden light flowed from Tang San's body and landed on the immortal demon emperor. Immediately, the immortal demon emperor clearly felt that there was an extra layer of connection between himself and his ancestral court. This is Tang San transferring to him the power of controlling the ancestral court after stepping into the sky. We are leaving. After explaining to humans, we will leave this world and return to our own world. Your lords, please take care. Tang San nodded slightly to the remaining emperors, including Suan Yu, who was still in a daze. All the emperors hurriedly returned the gift. The light flickered, and the next moment Tang San and Xiao Wu had disappeared without a trace. The sun shines on the earth, and everything in the ancestral court seems to have returned to normal at this moment. However, the Tianhu Holy Mountain disappeared, and many emperors disappeared, leaving only 3 emperors and 1 quasi-emperor. The Emperor Liuli Tianjing only felt that his throat was a little dry, looked at the immortal demon emperor, and said with a wry smile, Your Majesty, what should we do? The great immortal demon emperor said in a deep voice, Just do as he said. What he sees and touches is a world that we can't feel. Since he is leading the way, let's go to the direction of the light. Yes. Liuli Tianjing Huang, Sword Saint Demon Emperor, and Suan Yu bowed and said at the same time. The next moment they couldn't help but look to the east, because they already understood that the human settlement should be in the east. Chapter 1182. Go home. Pearl Island. People are busy. Since the completion of the Great Migration, with Mingzhu Island as the center, the islands inhabited by humans are bustling with activity. Building a new home, mobilizing a lot of resources, and more importantly, awakening elemental control in the elemental sea. Everything is going on in full swing. The human principles headed by Xiao He are very clear about the hard one of all this and the still weakness of human beings. If human beings want to truly have their own living space, they need to pay more efforts and costs. But today is a little different. The busy people have already stopped. Because the whole world changes. The sky was dark, bright, and oppressive. In the endless blue sea, even a little bit of blue light keeps flying away, flying towards the west, towards the direction of the ancestral court. The vast majority of human beings don't know what happened. Some people are afraid, some are excited, and some are inexplicable. But vaguely, they all seem to feel that everything that happened should have something to do with them. So they were all waiting, quietly waiting. At least wait for official information. More people are terrified in their hearts because they have finally found this free homeland, and they are really afraid, really worried that all this will be destroyed. There is a cliff on the west coast of Mingzhu Island, and hundreds of meters below the cliff there are rough waves. Due to the establishment of the kingdom of Jianmu, the tide here is not so turbulent, and most of the time it is very calm. But today, for some unknown reason, the sea is surging, countless blue light spots are constantly rising, and a large number of marine creatures are constantly popping up on the sea surface, appearing extremely excited. The sky is even more flickering, sometimes the pressure is huge, sometimes the sun is shining, and sometimes blood is pouring. This time, there were some people standing on the edge of the cliff, and their eyes all showed anxious and nervous expressions. The leader was Shao He, the prime minister of the kingdom of Jianmu. On both sides of Shao He, there stood the great elder of the Peacock monster clan, Princess Peacock and Su Qin. Before Tang San took Xiao Wu to the ancestral court for retreat, he sent Su Qin to Pearl Island to live here and wait for news, so as not to worry about the future. During the big wedding and the great migration of human beings, Tang San guessed that the Sky Fox Great Demon Emperor would do something later, and many things were already arranged in advance. This wait is more than half a year has passed. But today the sudden drastic change in the sky made everyone waiting on Pearl Island extremely anxious. Zhang Haoxuan brought Tang San's former partners Wu Bingji, Dubai Guli and Cheng Zicheng were also there. Every time the blood rained, their hearts tightened unconsciously, and they all understood what that meant. Blood rained pouring down time and time again. What worried them most in their hearts was whether there were Tang San and Xiao Wu among them. There was no doubt that the ancestral court was engaged in an extremely fierce battle, otherwise there would not be so many. The emperor has fallen. But what are these fallen emperors? They didn't know. But the tension in their hearts was palpable. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Tang San never takes risks. He must have already arranged everything before he will take any action. Princess Peacock comforted the anxious Su Qin. Su Qin just nodded, but was speechless. At this moment, the sky suddenly brightened, and all the sense of oppression disappeared at this moment, and in an instant, the blue sky was as clear as washing. Shao He, Zhang Haoxuan and everyone's eyes widened instantly. There was no sense of oppression, and everyone felt their bodies lighten up, and their bodies immediately became more comfortable. But the tension in their hearts didn't go away because of this. On the contrary, it became more and more tense. Su Qin clenched her fists eagerly, and couldn't help but take 2 steps forward. But at this moment, a loud laugh suddenly sounded. Ha 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 ha, it's done, ha ha ha. Everyone was taken aback, and subconsciously turned their eyes to the direction of the laughter. Wasn't it Shao He who started the laughter? How can the Prime Minister be sure that this is done? Zhang Haoxuan couldn't help asking in surprise. This time, Shao He's tense face had completely relaxed, and he raised his finger to the direction of the endless blue sea. Look. The power of faith in the sea is still rising, and it is still gathering towards their source. All along, I am all concerned about this point. As long as the power of faith is still gathering towards the ancestral court, it means that Tang San is fine. He is the sea god, and only he can gather the power of faith in this endless blue ocean. If the power is there, he is there. At this time, the sky is clear and the air is clear, and there is no pressure on the plain, but the power of faith is still there. What does this mean? They must have successfully controlled the ancestral court and won the battle. Only in this way can we explain what happened in front of us. After hearing his analysis, Su Qin couldn't help crying with joy. Really? If so, then it's really great. But at this moment, suddenly, the endless blue ocean also became calm, and the power of faith that was still rising suddenly stagnated, and then disappeared. The smile on Shao He's face froze almost instantly, and everyone's bodies also froze at the same time. Su Qin's tears also solidified at the same time. This, Xiao Mei, Su Qin burst into tears instantly. Don't cry. Just play a joke on the Prime Minister. At this moment, the silver light flashed, and 2 figures appeared from the silver light in an instant. Aren't they just the person they were waiting for? Xiao Wu opened her arms and threw herself into Su Qin's arms. Mom, don't worry, I'm fine. From great joy to great sorrow, and then to great joy, Su Qin almost fainted under the violent fluctuation of emotions. Xiao Wu exuded a gentle chaotic air, nourishing her body, hugging her into her arms, and soothing her turbulent emotions. Xiao Wu comforted Su Qin, but Shao He, Zhang Haoxuan and Tang San's partners had already surrounded him. Everyone was overjoyed to see that he was fine. Shao He said, "It's done." Tang San smiled and nodded. But at the next moment, Shao He's face turned serious. You said that if you can successfully overcome the tribulation you will leave? Tang San sighed softly, nodded again. We have returned to our position. We can't stay for long, otherwise it will destroy the balance of the plane and cause irreversible damage to Phalanxing. Therefore we will leave here soon. Everyone who was originally excited felt as if they had been poured with cold water, and all of a sudden they lost their souls. Dubai couldn't help but said, "You are gone, what should we do? Will the monsters and spirits let us humans go?" Tang San smiled slightly and said, "I've already dealt with the ancestral court. The only remaining emperors in the ancestral court are the Undead Demon Emperor, the Sword Saint Demon Emperor, and the Glazed Sky Essence Emperor. I believe that they will not be harmful to humans in the future. We come back today to bid farewell to everyone. And I have some things to tell you." Everyone was shocked and speechless. In its heyday, there were more than a dozen emperors in the ancestral court, but now there are only 3 emperors left. What does this mean? The light in Tang San's eyes flickered, and his spiritual consciousness bloomed. Immediately, everyone present felt the memory he passed on, and the whole process of ascending to the throne was clearly reflected in their spiritual consciousness. It seemed that only a moment passed, and it seemed that Tang San and Xiao Wu had gone through the whole process with Tang San and Xiao Wu before. They figured out everything that happened. While they were still immersed in shock, Tang San smiled and said, "It's probably like this. After the emperors of the ancestors fall, I'm afraid there will be chaos for a while. But with the great immortal demon emperor in charge, there will be no chaos too powerful. But at least within 100 years, there should be no oppression against us humans. I also believe that the undead demon emperor can restrain the monsters and spirits, and not be enemies of us humans. In the future, not only overseas but also on the fairy continent, we humans can also live a stable life as a race." Looking at Tang San, Zhang Haoshuan couldn't help feeling mixed feelings. Once upon a time, this was a young apprentice he accepted, and he kept bringing surprises and shocks time after time. However, when he came to this step today, it still made him feel so incredible. The existence of the Redemption Organization is to bring dawn to the future of mankind, and now Tang San alone has become this beam of light. Tang San looked at Xiao He and said in a deep voice, "Prime Minister, after I leave, the human side will be handed over to you. According to the plan we made before, we human beings still develop in 3 directions. Change is one, control of elements is another, and there is the power of the code. After I leave, I will erase all our memories on this plane, so as not to affect the balance of the plane. I retreated for this period of time before, has perfected the cultivation method of the code." While speaking, golden light shone in Tang San's hand, and the thick book of all laws had appeared in his palm. The history of this book of laws requires you to find a way to fabricate it. This book of laws is mainly divided into 3 parts. The first part is derived from the Tianji feather of the Peacock Demon clan. The book of prophecy, the second part, is part of the power of my position as a god. I call it the book of words and spirits. It should be of great use. And the third part is the foundation of the God-given code. I also asked the Prime Minister to separate this part of the God-given code and build temples separately. The divided God-given code will be easy to awaken many. Combined with the transformation of demons and gods and the control of elements, these 3 cultivation methods should be the foundation of our human future. While talking, Tang San handed the book of all laws to Xiao He. Xiao He took it seriously. "Don't worry, I will definitely find the most suitable inheritor to inherit this artifact." Tang San nodded slightly. Its different abilities must be controlled in the hands of different inheritors, so that they can restrict each other, and the power will not be too concentrated. "Yes." Xiao He nodded seriously. Tang San continued, "I still have a kit for the Prime Minister. After we leave, the Prime Minister can disassemble it and act according to the plan. This kit will bring us human beings with real opportunities. I just completed it on our way back, and it will be an opportunity for the rise of mankind. Follow the instructions in my kit. In the future, the 2 races of demons and elves will have nothing to fear." He took out another golden kit and handed it to Xiao He. Xiao He took it into his hand, and bowed slightly to Tang San again, which was to salute him on behalf of all human beings. Tang San took a deep breath, turned around, and looked towards the direction of the endless blue sea. "I have been here for 20 years, thank God for allowing me to welcome my wife back. In the future, there will be rewards for this plane. Within 300 years, When there will be our descendants returning to Phelan will lead mankind to truly rise and become the master of this plane. In the future, Phelan will also be able to achieve the God realm. You should work hard to practice. Maybe we will have a reunion one day. While speaking, he had already come to Xiao Wu's side. At this time Xiao Wu had already comforted Su Qin. Prime Minister, teacher, friends. Let's take a step ahead and look forward to the day when we meet again in the future. We will remember everything about Phelan for life. While speaking, he pulled Xiao Wu together and bowed slightly to the crowd. The next moment, their bodies were rising slowly under the golden light. Young Master Mei released a layer of white light covering Su Qin's body, and Su Qin quietly disappeared without a trace. The others watched them, and at the same time bowed slightly to salute them under the leadership of Xiao He and Zhang Haoshuan. On behalf of human beings, I respectfully send you off, Xiao He said loudly with a somewhat choked voice. On behalf of human beings, I respectfully send. Zhang Haoshuan was sobbing. Wu Bingji, Dubai, Guli, and Chang Zicheng even bent down with tears streaming down their faces. Tang San's majestic voice echoed between heaven and earth. People of the sea, I will leave for the time being. In the future, please be kind to mankind. When I return, it will be the day of Phelan's sublimation. I wish Lan Hai peace well, there will never be plague. The golden radiance spread across the sea, and in the next instant the figures of Tang San and young Master Mei had turned into a stream of golden light soaring into the sky. From this day on, there will be no more sea plague in Phalanxing, the endless blue sea. Universe, starry sky. There are only stars in the dark universe. Looking down from space, the huge Phelan star can only see green and blue. Spectacular. But at this time in this space, the two rays of light are shining on each other, and the brilliance they emit is actually faintly covering the entire planet. The golden one is a slender golden trident. The brilliant golden light has vaguely enveloped the planet below, making this huge and fertile planet cloudless. The red one is a majestic long sword. The tip of the sword hangs upside down, pointing down. The tip of the sword trembles slightly. It seems that the sword light will be revealed at any time. At this moment, a ray of golden light suddenly shone from the blue planet, and at the same time, the golden trident and the Azura Excalibur buzzed joyfully almost simultaneously. The next moment, two figures emerged from the golden light, and you reading www.king.com arrived in front of them in an instant. Excited buzzing viciously echoed on the two super artifacts. They excitedly revolved around the bodies of Tang San and Xiao Wu. Tang San held Xiao Wu's hand, his face already full of smiles. Honey, we should go home. Yeah, it's time for us to go home. I miss the kids so much. Tang San raised his hand, and the golden sea god trident fell into his palm almost instantly like a baby swallow throwing himself into his arms. Brilliant golden light erupted instantly, rendering the entire Phelan star golden in an instant. Tang San looked at his partner with a smile. Sea god Tang San, return to your seat. Xiao Wu's eyes were slightly red, and before she raised her hand, the hilt of the Shura Excalibur was already squeezed into her palm. Suragod Xiao Wu, return to your seat. Go home. Go home dash. French blue star. The sky suddenly turned golden, then red again. Gold and red are intertwined, presenting an incomparably strange scene. Xiao He's hands trembled a little, and tremblingly opened the Kita and the kit. Words gradually floated out. At the time of parting, I used the Book of Prophecy to realize that after more than 200 years, there will be an earth-shattering catastrophe in the fairy continent. To deal with this disaster, our human race prepared early in the morning and used the 200 years to accumulate materials, to refine the prototypes of the 7 artifacts in order to prepare for it. These 7 artifacts are Peerless Bead, Sea Dragon Bead, Nether Bead, Sky Bead, Holy Brilliance Bead, Breaking Sky Bead, and Zijin Bead. Refining method. After the prototype of the divine weapon is practiced, the Book of Prophecy should be used to foretell the coming disaster of the ancestral family in advance. At this point, the opportunity for the rise of mankind has come. Our dark age will surely lead to the golden age of mankind. Chapter 1183, Douluo Happy Reunion Finale. Douluo Star. Star Luo City is a modern metropolis named after the Star Luo continent tens of thousands of years ago. It is also one of the top 10 cities on Douluo planet. The ranking is always in the 4th or 5th place. Looking down from the sky, all kinds of tall buildings make the city look like a steel forest. But the city does not look cold and hard because all the buildings are connected by various vegetation, which brings a thriving life to the whole city. This is a 53-story apartment building. Room 3805 in the apartment building is not big, only about 100 square meters, including a living room of 20 square meters and 3 barely enough small bedrooms. The only bright spot is the large balcony that connects the living room with all the rooms. Standing on the balcony on the 38th floor and looking far away, one can see the skyline in the distance, and at night, one can even see the lights of thousands of families in Douluo City. In apartment 3805, the male owner was sitting on the plain fabric sofa in the living room, watching TV boredly. In the open kitchen on one side, the beautiful hostess is cooking in an apron. Dinner is very simple: a stewed chicken wings, a stir-fried vegetables, and a soup. This family has always implemented the eating habit of never wasting. Every meal should be eaten clean without waste or leftovers. In the opinion of the host, this is the best way. "Honey, it's time to eat. Go call your son," the hostess said with a smile. "Okay." The male owner stood up with a smile and walked to the second bedroom inside. This is their son's room. The 6-year-old son is doing his homework. They also have a daughter, much older than their son, who doesn't come back often. "Zhangji, it's time to eat." The master knocked on his son's door. "Here comes Dad," the crisp child's voice sounded. The door opened, and a handsome little boy rushed out excitedly. "Mom, do you want to eat chicken wings today?" "I want to eat several." "Well, come on." The hostess came out of the kitchen with a plate containing chicken wings, but at the next moment she seemed to feel something. Her pretty face suddenly turned pale, and even the plate in her hand slipped instantly. The male host moved very quickly, almost catching the falling plate like lightning. "Wu-Tong, what's wrong?" he asked in surprise. But at this moment he seemed to feel something and his eyes froze instantly. The hostess' eyes turned red instantly. "They're back, they're finally back. They're finally back. Wow." She threw herself into the arms of the hostess and burst into tears. "Mom, what's wrong with you, Mom? Why are you crying? Who's back?" The little boy had already run over, threw himself on his mother, and looked at her nervously. The male host said softly, "It's your grandpa and grandma who are coming back. Do you still remember that your mother told you about the origin of your name? Your grandma was ill before, and we all hoped that she would recover, so we named you Zhangji." The hostess raised her head with tears in her eyes constantly overflowing. She shouted to the host, "Quickly, call Yingying back quickly, quickly. Our family can finally be reunited." The host looked at his son beside him. "What about Zhangji? Do you want him to go with him?" The hostess nodded lightly. "Go ahead and just seal his memory later." "It is good." With a wave of the host's hand, a golden light suddenly appeared, engulfing the family of 3, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. The outside of the huge palace is radiant, and the spirit of the fairy spirit with faint-colored halos is lingering. A man and a woman have been waiting here early. The man was wearing a pale gold robe, but there was a circle of purple light behind his head, exuding a powerful aura. The woman was wearing a long silver dress, and there was a circle of green halo behind her head, shining brightly. The breaths from their bodies were clearly opposite, but they stood together and held hands, appearing extremely harmonious. The body of the man in the golden robe has been trembling slightly, and the woman in the long silver skirt has been comforting him silently. At this moment, a golden light suddenly shone, and 3 figures appeared beside them. The man and woman turned to look at the same time, and it was the family of 3 in apartment 3805 in Xingluo City who came. The little boy looked at the fantasy world around him in surprise, just like in a cartoon, and his face was full of curiosity for a while. The man in the golden robe saw the hostess and rushed to greet them, but his voice was trembling. "Sister, brother-in-law." The hostess's eyes were still red and she hugged him. "They are back, Dad, Mom, they are finally back, finally back. Dad found Mom, this is really great. Where is Xuanyu?" The woman in the long silver dress said softly, "He has been notified, and he and Xiuxiu should be arriving soon. Is this Zhangji?" She looked at the little boy. The hostess nodded and said to the little boy, "Uncle, Aunt." The little boy looked curiously at the handsome man in the golden robe in front of him, and then looked at the halo behind their heads. "Hi, Uncle. Hello, Aunt. I am Zhangji. What is the halo?" The man in the golden robe had already recovered a little bit of emotion at this time. Hearing this, he smiled and said, That is the position of our God. Your aunt is the of life, and I am the of destruction. God. Is there really a God? The man in the golden robe said. Of course there is. So are your father and mother. Sister, you and brother-in-law are really good enough. Why do you have to let Zhangji live an ordinary life? The male host said helplessly. It's your sister who wants to live the life of ordinary people. She said that only in this way can good children be raised. Well, look, when you and Xuanyu grew up, you lived in ordinary people's lives. Did it grow up? At this moment, 2 rays of light flashed almost one after another, and 3 more figures appeared. Dad, Mom, what's wrong with calling us here so urgently? A young couple appeared in front of the man in the gold robe and the woman in the silver dress. That's right. Why did you suddenly call us back? In another light and shadow, a charming girl came out. I'm training with my teacher. The hostess took a deep breath and said, Grandpa and Grandma are coming back. The man in the golden robe murmured. Our family is finally reunited, finally reunited. Yes, the family is finally reuniting. The hostess is Tang Wutong, the butterfly god, and the hostess Hui Yuhao, the of emotions. The later girl was their daughter Daying, and they brought their son Huozhanji, who grew up in the world. The man in the golden robe is Tang Wulin, the god of destruction, and the woman in the silver dress is Gu Yuna, the god of life. The young couple were their son and daughter-in-law, dragon god Tang Xuanyu and his wife Bai Xiuxiu. Coming, meteor-like light flew from the distant sky, and wherever it passed, the spirit of the fairy rushed. Dad, Mom. In that golden light and shadow, 2 figures gradually appeared, revealing the tearful smiles of Tang San and Shao Wu. Their family finally reunited. End of the book. Finished writing. Douluo Dalu V finally came to an end. This should also be Douluo's last novel. Yes, the last one. 14 years have passed since 2008. Finished writing these 5 Douluo novels. Some are exhausted, some feel lost, but more are reluctant to part. But always say goodbye. In fact, when I started writing Douluo 2 Peerless Tangmen, I had plans for the Douluo series. At that time, the 4th Ultimate Douluo was planned as the final conclusion. Yu reading www.yukiangsha.com, so I wrote for many years. When I was writing Ultimate Douluo, I started writing the Shenlan Qiyu 7 Gods Orb series, and I had a lot of ideas and made some follow-up long-length plans, even planning all the way to the 9th part. But after I thought about it carefully, I decided to put the novel in this one and let it be over. Because if it continues, it should be the story of Shenlan Qiyu, so it should not be called Douluo anymore. It may be written in the future, or it may not be written in a hurry. I left the foreshadowing. If you are interested, you can go and see the Kishenzu. Finally finished writing, a little relieved, a little relaxed. 14 years, more than 20 million words. I guess it is impossible for me to replicate such a super series in the future. Here, I am very grateful to every book friend who has supported me in the past 14 years. Without you, there would be no Douluo today, and without you, there would be no Douluo world that belongs to us. Really, from a young Tang who has become an old Tang, I would like to thank you all here. I created Douluo, but you gave Douluo a soul. It is your love for Tang San, Shao Wu, Hui Yuhao, Tang Wutong, Tang Wulin, Gu Yuna, Tang Xuanyu, Bai Xiuxiu that brought Douluo to where he is today. I know you may be wondering what I want to write if Douluo extends to the end of Jibu. Next, there will be the last rumor, as the end of Douluo, called Douluo Continent Rumor Douluo World. Many things will be explained clearly in this last rumor, which can be regarded as a fight for us. Luo series to make a finale. The physical book should be available to you soon, and this is also the final chapter of our Douluo series. And Douluo 6 and Douluo 7 in the original plan, if written, should also be named after Shenlan Qiyu. Finally, I would like to thank every book friend who supports me again. Thank you for your support to Douluo and to me. Thank you, Tang San.